Whether you're looking to transform your health or just maintain optimal health, there's something for everyone. The Get Australia Healthy Show.
Hi, I'm Jason Sean Bennett. Welcome to the Get Australia Healthy Show. Right, so what do we mean about fasting? Well, fasting is an interesting one because it's something that the human race has done for centuries. Literally, if you look through our genome, if you look through our genetic past, our recent history, you'll find that there was periods when, of course, we didn't have a takeaway bar on the corner, we didn't have a fridge in every house. So we actually had to fast. You know, you either had the feast or famine scenario where when the food runs out, you have two choices. One is to die and the other one is to fast. So of course, all of the people that are generally alive today on the planet are all children of people or grandchildren of people that generally had to fast simply because there wasn't enough food around. So fasting is a very natural process that we go through when we start to use up the body stores of fat and glycogen that are in the human system. It gives you incredible benefits from heart health, to improving heart health, to improving cholesterol levels, blood pressure. It's a wonderful part of the process of healing and reversing and treating heart disease is regular fasting. In fact, Dr. Alan Goldhammer in the States, in the True Health North Clinic in America, had an amazing study he did where he had 174 people. And these are people all with high blood pressure or hypertension. And he took these 174 people, one after another, over a period of 12 years. And over 12 years, what he did was he took them from their natural diet that they were on, whatever diet that was. And these were all different kinds of people, different body shapes and sizes and races and constitutions and blood types and all kinds of things. And he put them onto a plant-based whole food diet with periods of water fasting. Now the results he got were staggering. Out of 174 people, he had 174 cases of curing hypertension and high blood pressure. Now we know that most Australians die of heart disease. We know that. It's the biggest cause of death in Australia. So the biggest cause of heart disease death is either high blood pressure and hypertension or atherosclerosis. Those two can both be completely impacted by diet, and particularly hypertension. You can treat it with fasting very effectively. Now how you do that, of course, is a different conversation, but it can be done very effectively. It's a part of the natural healing and the reversing of high blood pressure, and high blood pressure being the biggest cause of death. Of course, is it in our interest to do something about it? Absolutely it is. It's really important. So a great way to impact on that is regular fasting. And how I teach people how to fast, and I do this a lot, I've got hundreds of people on the program that I work with. How I teach people to fast is generally I change their diet first. So we get their diet a lot more plant-based, we get it high fiber, so that we actually get the bowel motion starting to go through. Because when you're fasting, you're wanting to clean out the liver, getting rid of the waste, and the liver is the filter in the human body. So it's the filter that cleans everything. So every now and again you want to give the liver a break so it can actually get rid of the toxins and the cholesterol and all that waste that's sitting in there. You can actually move it through with the fiber. So the first step that I do with people, and very gently we do this, where we change their diet to a plant-based whole food diet. Once we've got that happening and once they're regular over time, then we start to introduce the concept of fasting after about 3 months, simply because most people need their bowels to be cleaned up and regular before they then stop fasting, before they stop eating rather, and get into fasting. So that's the first thing we do is we improve their diet and get the fiber going through them. And that does a lot of things, of course. It changes their body shapes as well. It changes their appetite. It changes their routines. And when you get into fasting, the fasting that I teach people about is what we call nutritional fasting, which is when you get more nutrition on a day of fasting than you do normally when you're eating. So you don't have to worry about being a lack of nutrition because you'll actually get more goodness out of that juice fasting. And what I mean by nutritional fasting or juice fasting is literally cucumber, celery, a little bit of carrot, a little bit of beetroot, and some ginger as well, because sometimes you'll lose body fat and warmth. You'll always lose body fat, but you lose a bit of warmth when you're fasting as well. So if you base it around that lovely cucumber, celery, get a big cucumber, get a big celery, juice them, throw in a little bit of carrot, a little bit of beetroot and some ginger, just to add a bit of spice to it, and then sip on that during the day. And you can, if you want to, treat that as 3 meals a day. So you can actually have that for breakfast, and then you brush your teeth, have nothing in the middle, have some more for lunch, brush your teeth, have nothing in the middle, have some more for dinner. You can either do that or you can have a bit of green tea or some water as well. But the key thing here is getting lots of that vegetable juice into you, and the greener the better. The more greens you can have in there, the better. And it depends on your kind of juicer as to how you do the juicing. If you've got a standard juicer, which a lot of us have, which doesn't actually, won't juice things like silver beet or spinach, then you don't put that in. But if you've got a juicer, there's a number of juices now that are slow grinding juices. Those kind of juices you can actually add almost anything and it will juice it and take the goodies out of it. The key thing to remember when you're fasting, and vegetable juicing is what I recommend, not fruit juice fasting. Why don't I recommend fruit juice fasting? Simply because we've all got too much sugar anyway. Everyone is over sugared. So removing sugar from people is really, really important, and particularly that sugar impacts and wipes out your liver. We know that alcohol and sugar do the most damage to your liver. So removing sugar is really important when you're trying to heal the liver. And fasting is part of healing the liver and getting that back again. So when you're fasting and when you're juicing, it's a little bit different to making smoothies. Smoothies is when you blend everything together, you blend it all into a mixture and you have the whole thing, you've got all the fibre, so it helps with the bowel motion. Fasting is different in the sense that you remove the insoluble fibre. So it's the outer part of your fruits and vegetables gets removed. That's the insoluble part, which means the bowel motions don't happen as much, which is exactly why I always recommend when you're going to start fasting, you do it after a few months of eating well. Simply because you need to have your bowel going regularly, you need to have better genetic expression in the gut, a better microbiome, better probiotic bacteria in your gut, and have all that healthy before you get into juicing. And juicing is wonderful for that afterwards. Now, can you go straight to juicing from a normal diet? You can, but I don't recommend it. Simply because if you're eating hamburgers and chips and takeaways and you're overeating, as soon as you cut back on what you're eating and start fasting, your body will start to throw off the toxins into the bloodstream. You might get nauseous and feel sick and toxic. So it's much better for people to actually fast gently and slowly and get into it over a routine. And I teach people how to do that such that they fast one day per week for the rest of their life. So it's very easy to do that as well. And I often do that myself. I often do a 7-day fast once a quarter. Sometimes I'll fast for a month every year. And if you're doing it well, it is simply the most powerful, historically proven way of healing the human body, period. There's nothing even remotely as close as giving yourself a nourishing juice fast and just stopping everything else, going to bed early, get into a nice routine, maybe walk every day in nature. But the fasting is such a key part of it. Every 1 pound of body fat we carry is 3,500 calories of fuel. So if you've got 3,500 calories of fuel for every 1 pound of body fat, it shows you how long you can fast for. Now, most of us in the Western countries, Australia particularly, of course, we're carrying a lot of weight. And of course, in Australia, we've got the second or third most obese country in the developed world now. We've got the second or third highest rates of diabetes. So we know there's real problems there with too much weight in the Australian people in general. So fasting is a great way to impact on that gently over time, because the body will start to eat away at those dead, diseased, dying, decaying cells and burn them up and recycle the proteins in them so the body can actually function a lot better. So when you're fasting, and the distinction between fasting and starvation is very clear. Fasting is when you stop eating and the body then turns and eats on its body fat and its glycogen levels. Starvation is different. Starvation is when you don't have any body fat and don't have your glycogen stores as well. Glycogen is just stored glucose in the muscles, so we know glycogen is there. Now, in terms of how many people in Australia wouldn't have any body fat and wouldn't have any stored glycogen, there's not going to be a lot. So most people can actually fast generally very, very safely and very happily, even on water fasting. However, as I said earlier, I don't recommend water fasting alone. I recommend gently starting with a plant-based whole food diet. Once you get your bowels regular, which is so important, because so many of us are constipated. And what I mean by constipation is less than 3 times a day. 3 times a day is the normal colic gastric reflux for the human body to be going. And of course, we wanted to get that bowel motions more regular. Just like children and animals, you eat and eliminate, eat and eliminate, eat and eliminate. And what happens is, particularly in countries like Australia, New Zealand, the UK, America, we've been used to this low fibre diet now for over 100 years. We're just used to not having enough fibre in our diet. So we're used to going once a day. And we're used to having a straining kind of motion or it being hard work. Whereas a good bowel motion should just be that you get a stimuli in your gut where you go, I feel like I need to go. You then go to the bathroom and you have your bowel motion and it's done. And you'll go a few times each day based on how much you eat. Just like a child, you get a little baby, you put it on the breast. As soon as it starts to suck all the milk, it'll have a bowel motion in the nappies. It's just the way that we're built. So this low fibre diet we've had for hundreds of years now has basically wiped out our ability to know what regularity is. So fasting is a great way to impact on that and get back to that. However, it should only be done by people who have got some body fat stores or some glycogen stores. And of course that is most people, because most people have got no problem with it.
Don't forget to subscribe for regular show updates and campaign news, and together, let's get Australia healthy.